My name is Tommy Boland. I'm Professor of Animal Science in the School of Agriculture and Food Science in University College Dublin. I'm also the Associate Dean for Research, Innovation and Impact within the school. We know now that there's genetic variation in methane emissions between animals, so over time we can breed animals which have a lower methane emission. We need to be very conscious that we're not having concurrent impacts on other traits within the animal when doing so, but that's where our economic breeding index and other tools can be advantageous. Animal health can have a very important impact on the farm level of emissions. So if we have healthier animals at a farm level, they will have lower methane emissions. The longevity of the cow in the herd, again, the longer we can keep an individual cow milking in our dairy herd, that will reduce the overall carbon footprint of that herd. But I think probably what most people are focused on now is the use of feed additives. So compounds we can add to the diet of our dairy cow or our beef cattle or our sheep that will have an impact in terms of reducing methane emissions. There are two products at the moment which are getting a lot of attention. One would be seaweed and particular species of seaweed which contain particular compounds that can reduce methane emissions. And the other is a commercially available product produced by DSM marketed as Bovair, but those of us in the research field would know it more closely as Trinop. And again, those two compounds have a lot of research data behind them showing that they can reduce methane emissions from cows. I think one of the big questions to be answered in an Irish context is how will they work in pasture-based systems? Because essentially all the research thus far has been conducted with indoor feeding systems. And while we're in a shed here and cows are in the background, where it's easy to supplement those animals, for most of the year, these cows will be outdoors grazing, which is a really strong point of the Irish dairy sector. And how we get that supplement, or how we get those supplements into the diet during that grazing window, and what methane reduction it will actually result in, is the big question we need to answer. A key question is, how close are we to developing a methane mitigating agent that can be administered in a pasture-based system? There's been a huge amount of work and a huge amount of progress in the last decade. We now have commercially available feed additives that can be incorporated into dairy cow diets with the purpose of reducing methane emissions. Those additives work best in a total mixed ration type situation where the additive is mixed in with the diet of the cow. That can't happen in pasture-based systems because the diet is the grass which grows in the pasture. So we're looking, and colleagues right around the world are looking at slow release feed additives, so additives that can be consumed in the morning and the evening but become available in the rumen over time, to look at alternative delivery methodologies, whether that's in a bolus that the animal receives, which will release that additive for a period of weeks or months, or even can we supply these additives through the water system? So a cow will drink a number of times during the day in the pasture. Is that a potential route? There's a huge amount of research investment and research activity taking place in this area at the moment, and I think that's the key to answering that question. It's really difficult to put a time frame on something like that. We could have a solution next year, or it may be a number of years before a solution is developed. When it comes to reducing methane emissions, or any gas for that matter, it's important that we have the correct starting point. The national inventory is based on published science. A lot of that science has taken place in an international context, particularly with indoor fed systems. And up until quite recently, that was the only way to measure methane emissions, was with quite sophisticated indoor equipment. Some recent work taking place by colleagues in Teagasc in Moore Park would show that during the grazing year, that methane emissions are currently being overestimated and quite substantially overestimated. So the work now is focused on getting the precise and correct emissions factors in an Irish context, because our targets are at an Irish level. So it's important that we have the correct data in an Irish context on which those targets are based. So it's important also to understand that if our emissions are currently overestimated, that doesn't change the need to reduce our emissions, because historical emissions will also be refined downwards, and we will still need to reach that 25% reduction target by 2030. But most importantly, it will give us the correct starting point.